Let's call this meeting to order. Monday, August 19th at 6 p.m. Oconee County Planning Commission. Our first order of business is invocation.
Dear Lord, we come to you today just thanking you, Lord, for the rain that you've sent. Just ask, Lord, that you be with all those who have lost power, Lord, and just be with the workers as they're out trying to restore it. Keep them safe, Lord. We just ask that you be with us in this meeting, that everything that we do and say would be pleasing to you, and that we would watch out for our fellow citizens and put them first and not ourselves. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Mr. Mike, Mr. Older Mike, would you lead us?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. Okay, public comment for non-agenda items. Our first one is Mr. Barnett.
Y'all all know who I am, but I'll tell you again, I'm Jerry Barnett. Deep roots in Oconee County, at one time known as the Dark Corner. Now some of you like to call it the Golden Corner. To your credit, you've chosen to include the Bill of Rights in your comp plan. I think down the road, everybody will see the benefit of that, because that's the recipe for this great nation, and it's been protected at great expense. The estimate is 1.5 million lives have been lost by our military since starting with the revolution. Think about it. This simple country boy has a hard time wrapping his mind around this so-called Carter plan. You got a traffic problem, and now we're talking about adding the gaudy cat buses, bicycles, and pedestrians to the mix. Now that's really gonna solve the problem. And all this traffic reaches a choke point down there at the Hartwell Village, or whatever you want to call it, with those bridges. You can do all you want to, they've still got to get across those bridges. You know, and if you increase that traffic, that's going to increase the pileup down there. Another thing that very little thought has come into is encroaching on the railroad. Now, if you think state highway is tough, you start on the railroad right away. They ain't gonna take you to the woodshed. Talking about tunneling up under there, pedestrians wandering around in the middle of 123 there at that choke point. Now, ain't that gonna be a mess? And then up here at Seneca, the county wants to ban billboards, they say, for private business. Economic business, private business, they want to ban billboards, yet this Carter plan says they need to have a huge billboard there announcing the entrance to Seneca. Now, how can you ban a private business's billboard and put this huge billboard up there for Seneca? And oh yeah, can't you imagine what the railroad's gonna think about wanting to decorate that railroad bridge there at Seneca? This is gonna get interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barnett. Adam Moore.
I've taken the day off work today to come and visit, and I just wanted to come as representative as Mr. Barnett wants to come as representative of rural community. I wanted to come as representative as the younger community. And I think that me and my friend Kanan have done a good job of coming in and doing that today. And we just wanted to say that, first of all, I agree with everything Mr. Barnett just said. And also, I wanted to stress that the younger people want the tenets of libertarian conservatism in government, and that is our number one goal. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have before you the minutes of the meeting 8/5/2019. Do I hear a motion to approve?
We need an amendment. The discussion vote, number C, under 6, the order, it was, it approved, it had to be 6-0 because I wasn't here. Isn't that right?
No. You wished you knew.
Yes, I can tell.
That would also apply to 5, it looks like.
Okay, I'm sorry I missed that one. And with those amendments, I would make a motion that they be approved as submitted.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further corrections or changes? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Mr. Adam,
Oh, I was asked to provide the planning commission purpose and statement to the planning commission as just a method of,
well, item 6, Plan Commission and County Council.
oh, I'm sorry, I skipped one, I apologize. Yes, the planning commission meeting regarding the corridor study that we all sent up, as it's been noted several times by the planning commission, that there sometimes is a lack of direct or clear communication. The county council wishes to have the face-to-face with you about a brief 30-minute meeting before the October 1st meeting of council on that Tuesday. I believe I sent out that email to you all. If you all could let me know, we have quorum for that so far. But if anybody can make it or hasn't responded, please let me know if they can make it. And that's what it'll be about. It'll be a brief meeting. It's a Tuesday.
Everyone read the Planning Commission purpose statement? Anyone have any questions about that? Okay, let's go into item number 8, transportation element. Didn't have anyone sign up for that.
Just a comprehensive plan. I believe Mr. Markovich signed up for a comprehensive plan as a whole. So,
All right, if anyone wishes to speak on the transportation element, come up now.
I didn't see a separate sheet for the transportation element.
it was just all one.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Very good. Thank you. For the record, I'm Tom Markovich. I just wanted to note that as a portion of the transportation planning section, under section F, number 3, they've added a paragraph called exactions. And it says, paragraph is added on page 19 to expand upon the discussion of impact fees which are not used in Oconee County for transportation needs. I'm going to say that's not correct. We have a road impact, let's not call it an impact fee. It hadn't been labeled that, but it's unquestionably an exaction. Anytime a developer decides to subdivide a piece of property and put more than 10 dwelling units on that piece of property, he has to do a road study on a county road. And if that road study comes back and recommends that there has to be upgrades to that county road, then in any of the subsequent county roads that take it back to a state road, then that developer has to pay for that. And this was in fact a subject of a 4-year lawsuit between the home builders and me with the county, and it was all about exactions. And we did finally, in fact, come to a settlement in the case. And even though there is a mechanism in there for basically what amounts to a tax incremental financing piece that would allow some of these upgrades to be bonded off. And so the tax increment could, in some cases, pay for it out over a 10-year period of time. There's no guarantee that, in fact, that the developer would get all of his money back. And so we unquestionably have exactions in Oconee County on transportation. So we may not call it an impact fee. Undoubtedly, it impacts the developer. It impacts the county. It impacts everybody involved with it. In addition, the first sentence says, while Oconee has not adopted an impact fee in association with transportation, it is experienced with adoption and administration of such fees, or it is experienced. Now, that has to do with the sewer impact fee. And I kind of question that first sentence, because when Oconee County first adopted the sewer impact fee, it was prior to the legislation on development impact fees for South Carolina. So there was no rules whatsoever in place when they adopted that fee. That was in 1989. I want to say it was in 1993 that the state adopted the impact fee legislation, which is a very rigorous mechanism that the counties have to go through now in order to adopt an impact fee. It was later doubled. They doubled the impact fee. That doubling came about after the fact, after the new legislation went into. But I can assure you that the steps that was necessary to go through in order to adopt it did not take place. Nonetheless, it's there, it's been there. And so, but there may be some experience in collecting the fee, but the administration of the fee, I wouldn't agree with that comment at all. There's very specific things that you have to do in terms of reporting that fee. I've never seen that fee reported. Now, I've looked at the county's finances every year for the last 20 years. And that is in fact a county fee. There are additional sewer impact fees that are imposed by the municipalities, but I'm talking about the county fee. Anyway, so I think that little paragraph may need a little work. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. All right. Open it up to the planning commission for discussion.
It appears that they've made a great effort to try to combine all of this funding that we have to centralize it in that transportation section. And they provided us with a chart that kind of compiles and puts everything in a nice graphic form. So this is a good, I think, a good improvement over what we had before. The other question that I keep asking, and I'm not going to ask anymore after this time, is how they coordinate between each other. And I think that ACOG meeting, when they have that, might be an interesting time to listen for it to see if they explain how they coordinate that. But I think this is a definite improvement over what we had before. Adam?
So if I may, so we were, the last time we looked at the transportation element, you all had asked us to go back to the table and try to find some simple way of saying, this is how roads get funded. 3.5, 4 pages about as simple as I can get, as Mr. Markovich pointed out, and as I'm sure any of you could. There's probably infinite number of variations that we could put a spin on with this. This is a snapshot of how our asphalt gets laid down financially. And even since I got this and sent it to you, I received information that perhaps things will change in the next, like in 2020 about this. So we can always go and update this, but this is an informational piece regarding the funding for transportation, which I had no idea it could be. This might as well be healthcare with how incredibly complicated this is. So Yeah, that's what I got. So if you all have any suggestions for it, I'm certainly open.
I've got a question about the C funds.
Sure.
If we're eligible for $1.9 million, but we never apply for more than 600,000, is there a reason we leave that $1.3 million on the table?
I do not know the answer to that question, sir.
What happens to it if we do leave it on the table? It comes out of my pocket when I buy gasoline. I just as soon as benefit Oconee County.
I would guess it goes to another county, but I'm not, I don't know either.
Yeah, I'm not sure, sir. I can find out.
I think it's a great question. I had the same question. And is there someone, well, I'll leave it at that.
Could be eligible projects as well. I'm not sure, but I can certainly find out.
Else? Do you need a vote to adopt
If you all would like to put this to edit the transportation element, by adding this in there, yes, then a motion and a vote would be appropriate.
Well, I'll attempt to make a motion then that this be adopted into the transportation element as presented here, and hopefully we can get the one question that Andy asked answered in that also.
I have a motion,
I'll second that.
second. Any further discussion?
Under item 3 that Tom Markovich brought up, I really think that we need to at least take a look and see, or ask them to go back and see how that wording reads, if it reads the best way it can read.
What's up on your screen right there, sir?
Under
The impact.
Under
3,
the
page
section.
18, scroll on down.
Gotcha.
Oh, you went down a little bit too far. A little bit farther, right there. Let's see, keep going. Wish I could touch the screen here.
Touch screen.
It actually is under section F, item 3.
Extractions, page
I
18.
gotta keep going. It's past the chart, right?
Yes,
There we go.
section F, down towards the bottom. This, yes.
What did it say originally? Or what was changed?
It's new information.
Oh, it's all new, okay.
So impact fee.
And it may be
is-
that paragraph is correct, and it may be that we also need to add something in there as to who is picking up those additional charges.
Who's picking up the
Well,
additional charge? for the-
Just as he mentioned, and as in when we're building a development, we're paying for everything up front, and then we're giving that road to the county. And so there are definite fees in regard to transportation that do take place by others.
Adam?
Ma'am.
I have an emergency I have to handle. I'll be right back.
You want, Mr. Pearson, you have we can put the meeting on pause for a moment if you mind. But as everyone's not at the table.
Adam, since we got a little pause in this thing.
Let's go ahead and take about 5.
Yes, sir. The microphones and camera are still running.
Maybe we can do a partial motion, get it approved down to a certain point, and then look at the other part of it.
Well, the motion,
As we've kind of gone on a break at the moment, if there's anything else we want to talk about other than.
Other than this,
Other than
like it's nice we're having weather.
Yeah, it's nice for having weather.
still
There we
raining.
go.
your project coming, Mike,
We're supposed to put the roof on tomorrow.
not tonight?
Nonsense, yeah. No. I'm hoping that the crane is still good to go tomorrow and that we can get the roof on before
We're back now. The motion on the floor now is to accept this chart into the,
The chart or the text?
all the way down?
The whole thing, right?
Yeah,
Hold on.
everything related to the transportation, the edits requested. Mr. Johnson was in the middle of trying to
Continue.
wordsmith this.
Mr. Markovich just brought up a statement under that section 3, that last paragraph, that the wording did not look as accurate as it possibly could be. I'd like the consultants to, I'm good with everything being adopted here, with the exception that I'd like the consultants to confirm that this wording is the best wording possible.
So then we would need to amend that motion that it,
I think we, yeah,
or withdraw the motion.
Why don't we withdraw the motion,
Yeah, withdraw the motion.
we start all over again?
I'd like to make a motion then that we ask the consultants to review that one paragraph as it relates to other expenses incurred prior to the county taking that road over, and is it applicable within this transportation element?
I'll second that.
And we're gonna have to do, let's do the discussion.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this matter?
I'm just gonna, I mean, I know I'm a dummy on a lot of things, but, okay, when you say that you put up all the money for the roads, and then at the end, you give those roads to the county, is the cost of that road construction not calculated into your houses that are sold off of that? Because obviously, a subdivision with roads and sidewalks and whatever, the houses and sites bring more money than if that was all gravel driveways. And then, in fact, when you turn it over to the county, that ends your financial commitment to upgrading, or upkeeping the roads, correct? So, I mean, I'm sorry, I just have to get clear in my head, because I know what houses cost now. We know, what they're run, so I figured that for building the road, you've increased the price. That's a pass-through expense, it seems like to me.
It gets built into the cost of the lot, not necessarily the house. So
Well,
it just
whatever.
depends at what point in time. Unquestionably, it gets built, I mean, it's a cost, it's an expense. Now, does the expense end there? No. First off, that developer is gonna have a 3-year warranty against that road, and he's gonna leave a bond put up against that road. And those are the specifics of that road to that particular piece of subdivided property. And then the exactions that I'm talking about are the roads that are already in existence, and the developer is required to upgrade those roads. And that's another expense that the developer would end up bearing that won't get built into the cost of those lots. And there ends up, like I said, there is a mechanism put in place that could in some ways help defray some of the cost, but there's no guarantee that it's going to reduce the cost.
Why is it passed on if you're upgrading on?
Because it's,
Why
it
would
would
you
be
upgrade it if you're not
difficult.
upgrading this cost
Well,
of the
because you
house?
can't build you won't get approval of the subdivision. The county will not approve the subdivision unless you agree to upgrade that county road. And so the road that's coming in there. I guess you could build that into the cost, but more than likely your lots are gonna get so expensive, you're not gonna be able to sell them. And you're competing against lots that may, in other cases, not have to build that cost in, because maybe those subdivisions are built on a state road where that rule doesn't apply, because that rule only applies to county roads. And so there's a bunch of different variables that would go in, because ultimately, and even though, you would try to build your expenses into that lot, it's market demand. Market is going to set the price of those lots in eventuality. Maybe you'll do well.
But
maybe
that's your
you won't.
business, right? I mean,
To some extent, it is, it is.
but you do,
But
so,
It's a risk, no question.
It's a risk, yeah, I understand that, it's just,
Yeah.
we hear that a lot, that y'all put up the money for that, and then it's just turned over to the county as if you just go, I'm gonna build this great road, and then I'm gonna give it to the county, as if there's nothing in the middle there that actually does benefit you. But it does in fact benefit you, I feel like, to a certain extent. And I apologize to developers if that sounds wrong, but, we're business people, and we also are required to do certain things, very specific RFID tags in our cattle, et cetera, and yet we can't increase the price of steaks at Logan Steakhouse. We just have to cross our fingers and pray that we'll get a little bit higher money for the cattle that go to the feed yard. It's just part of our business. And so, it's, I don't know that you can get any more precise wording than that.
So one of the things that we were looking at as an example, going back last year, we were working under a situation where developers were getting around the county road requirement because they were taking existing county road and making driveways and coming in with house, and then a driveway behind it, as opposed to what would be the normal thing to do, and that is take a road back to the back. So they were coming in on two county roads and making a house, and then a long driveway and a house behind the house, a house and a long driveway and a house behind the house to get around it. So there are ways that the developer could cut his expenses, and the developer could cut a smaller alleyway or road or something like that, but the developer does have to follow the county's going to require that the developer do a certain thing with those roads. And you are correct. It is an expense of the developer, and that goes to his business, and that's his business. My question is do we have this worded correctly from a county standpoint? And that is just the question at hand.
Yeah, Adam.
Yeah, and I can understand that it is experienced in the adoption and administration of such fees. I can understand having a question there. It's just when you talk about impact fees and what you put into the business versus what you get out, I want us to be real careful there.
If I may, so I just
Yes, sir.
Googled, looked up on our South Carolina State House, impact fees, because impact fees is a specific thing. And so this is the definition from the state. Development impact fee or impact fee means a payment of money imposed as condition of development approval to pay for a proportionate share of the cost of system improvements needed to serve development. And this does not include plan review, building codes, connection hookups, or amount collected from a developer in a transaction which the government entity has incurred expenses. So I believe if you look at this wording, and this is just me looking at this right now, that we just strike that first sentence and it doesn't bother me. Because whether we say we have impact fees or we don't have impact fees in the comprehensive plan, we want to be as accurate as possible. But just this quick reading of it, without going any deeper, this seems to speak that, in fact, it is impact fee for us to require upgrades. So if we just wanted to strike that sentence, I wouldn't, it doesn't change the fact that we have those fees for developers, or going to have those fees.
The sentence that says, while Oconee County has not adopted impact fees, which it kind of has, in association with transportation, it is experienced in the adoption and administration of such fees.
Just remove that.
Just remove that sentence.
Yeah, it doesn't change, it changes nothing in what happens on the ground, that sentence. So it's completely up to you. We could go and look for it to be reworded a certain way, or you can strike it.
I think I'm okay with that.
Why don't we just do the easy way and strike it?
Excuse me?
How about that?
The rest is all.
Then I can withdraw my motion.
So we've withdrawn
previously
two
mentioned.
motions.
Let's start over.
Okay, start all over again.
So we make a motion now to strike the opening sentence of paragraph of number 3, exactions. While Oconee County has not adopted an impact fee in association with transportation, it is experienced in the adoption and administration of such fees. We simply strike that and keep the rest of the sentence. And that is a motion.
I'll second that.
We have a Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now we need a motion
To accept
to
all of this.
accept all of this, to adopt all this in the comprehensive plan.
The transportation portion of it, yes, sir.
Transportation portion of the comprehensive plan. So
I'll
we need a
make-
motion.
I'll make that motion. Who's making it?
And I'll
You
second
doing
it.
it, Alex?
Got a motion, we got a second.
You can make it, Mike.
Any further discussion? Everybody understand what we're doing? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Now we're talking about retirees.
Item number 9, economic element, retirement language. We don't have anyone to speak with that item, so open to the floor for discussion.
I'm sure the poster child for that, and I can abide by what they're saying here. I mean, it's a very true statement.
On the first page, the last sentence, I think it's potential retirees. I think. Right there. On the last sentence of that first page, the most potential retirees, or no, let's see, what was it? Found that most potential
Oh, retirees, yeah, you need another
Yeah.
E. Second line, just move down one line from where your long blue line is.
Right below the,
One, down one.
Oh, yeah. No, regional.
There.
Gotcha.
and then
I'll fix that.
I also question they prefer to retire in small towns, coastal regions, mountains, rural, and urban areas.
What other
Is
areas?
that all?
Is there anything left?
Is there anything left? I don't know where else they could go, but
If they're in one of those places, they're alive, which means they did retire, so that's a good thing.
I think that
Heaven
probably
is
comes
an
out.
maybe they just prefer to retire. Is that, would stop the whole
Where
rest
you
off.
live, you prefer to retire.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's it.
I think that's probably just wording out of USC's.
I think so. I think it was something,
Glad we covered every place.
but I thought it looked good.
Well, I make a motion, we go ahead and adopt this
I think it's good.
Economic element.
in the economic element. Yeah.
Do I have a motion?
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. At this time, I am going to turn the floor over to Mr. Mike Smith, Senior.
Yes, part of the retirement group. I wanted to suggest maybe revising the agenda, and I wanted everybody just to think about it and come back at the next meeting. And I want to read a little bit about it, and I'm suggesting that the old and new business agenda items be moved further up on the agenda. Stacy, you brought up low-income housing, and we didn't really get a chance. I wanted to get into it, and it was at the close of a meeting.
Right.
And somebody else brought up something, and the reason is these items just before adjournment and our attention span, depending on the length of the meeting, this is a very short meeting, but we've been in some of these meetings that go on and on. It's reduced, and so we don't seem to give the amount of attention that these items deserve. To be more specific, I'm suggesting that the items be moved further towards the beginning of the agenda, and consider combining it with a new item labeling Planning Department updates. Let Adam give us some kind of updates, as he occasionally does, and then we just go right into new and old item, business. And then we go ahead and continue on with the agenda. I'm not asking for a decision tonight, but would like everyone to think about it, and maybe a formal request that it be on the agenda for the next meeting. And that's it.
Well, old business, is that not what we're doing anyway? Is that not everything else on the agenda? So what is,
Well, it is. I get the feeling that our attention span after about an hour and 15 minutes, we start to think gee, I'm getting hungry, it's time to get home.
I just don't know what the old, why old
business would
business is
be-
on there.
He could
That's
now
right.
say, remember when you wanted to talk about low-income housing, we've got 25 minutes before we've had an hour meeting. Let's spend the next 25 minutes talking about lower-priced housing. Of course, that's going to be voted down immediately, but, I think that's where old business, it's something that we've mentioned before, but it didn't make it on the agenda, and somebody might want to bring it back up to talk about.
Gotcha.
I think that we have ideas, we have things that we want to talk about, and I think we really deserve to have some attention done to it. Some item is going to be the end down there towards the bottom, right before when we make a motion to adjourn. And I just would like to be sure that everybody gets a chance to bring up an item that they want to talk about. Anyway, let's think about it. I'd like for it to be on the agenda next meeting, and maybe we can do something, and if the majority of people want to keep it the way it is, fine, we'll keep it the way it is.
I think it would be great to do that once we finish this comp plan. We got to kind of get this pushed through because we're getting to timelines that have got to be completed. So I think once we get the comp plan pushed through, it'll be a great time to do that.
How does everybody feel about that?
I just don't want to get sidetracked when we've got
Okay.
stuff we need to kind of hash out real quick.
All right.
But
That's a good idea.
I think it's good.
Finish the big project and then.
So we can bring it back up
We'll bring it back up in January,
first of the year.
If we don't get sidetracked.
December.
Make a note of that, Adam.
Okay. All right.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Wait,
I'll
we had went through the old business
Oh, I'm
and the new
sorry.
business yet.
It was old business and new business.
Oh, that was, okay.
Yeah, we'll get all that in one.
All right, so we don't have any old business or new business.
Sir, if I may. I figured I'd jump in here.
Transport.
You guys brought up a good point. The end may be in sight, okay, of the comp plan, which is probably the beginning of the comp plan, however you want to look at it, very yin and yang. Next meeting, I believe, I'll have the priority investment element for you. The following meeting, I believe I'll have the land use and the agricultural element for you. The agricultural element coming from the ag board to here, in their draft to you for it. The land use element coming to you all. After that, I'd like to bring the executive summary, if it's available, as well as all the public input. Because I should have all the public input, and if you've been in my office at all, it's all over the walls. So I'm ready to put it in here. And that's kind of our time frame. Now, after that, depending on how we integrate the public comments into the drafts, things of that nature, I feel the earliest we could probably get it to council is probably the first meeting in November. But if we want to kind of sit on it, we'll have it all in a good solid draft form for us to look over. And it will be voluminous when we get it. I mean, it'll be a big pack of papers, but I'll try to give it to you in bite-sized pieces that we can look at it with. But that's my kind of at the time frame we're looking at for the comp plan at the moment.
I got one thing I like to say. When we get the agriculture element, let's all read that one, because the agricultural committee, they have worked on it, and I watched a couple of the meetings on YouTube, and they have come up with some great ideas for that, and I think that's gonna be a really interesting element, since this is a new one for the county anyway. But let's look at it pretty closely, because they've got some great ideas in there. And I think you ought to be surprised at what they've actually put in there. So with that, if there's nothing else, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you, guys. They have done.
Really work at it to get it.